going to start this up, see if it goes.
Okay.
All right, it appears we are on the air. Sesh, are you on the air?
Indeed.
Maria, you are good to go?
Yep.
All right, then let's kick this off in 3, 2. Hello, all you spry tubers, twitchers, and pod people out there. Welcome to the Could You Do It Better podcast, where director, artist, and behind-the-scenes awesomeness known as Sesh, and the writing and directing sensation known as Maria discuss popular television shows and movies and answer the always controversial question of, could you do it better? Today, we will be discussing Season 2, Episode 5 of Ryan Condal's House of the Dragon television series, based upon George R.R. Martin's novel, Fire and Blood. And as for me, I'm Jonathan the Intern, and unlike our two experts, have no industry experience whatsoever. In other words, I'm much like the ratcatchers. My head has been held on a thread most of this season. People wonder how I'm still hanging around here and should have been cut down several episodes ago. And the strong stench of failure surrounds my rotted and lifeless corpse. And now, to Sesh and Maria. Woo!
Woo!
Welcome back after a tremendous episode 4. Will we follow that up in episode 5? I guess you'll have to wait and find out. But in any case, this episode is the Season 2, Episode 5 recap of the House of the Dragons TV series. And as such, it will contain spoilers throughout. So if you haven't watched this episode and don't want to hear spoilers before you do, please feel free to put us on mute as you watch the episode and then rewatch our episode afterwards. That's how you double those view counts. And now, on to the recap, as mandated by our legal department. Today's episode starts at sunrise over Driftmark, as a mournful Corliss takes his wooden throne along with a couple minutes of far-off stares at the horizon from Rhaenyra. In King's Landing, the people are dealing with the ill effects of the blockade, namely moldy oranges and rat or egg soup, hard to tell. Sir Han Kristen Cole figures the best way to cheer them up is another parade. This one featuring a cut-off dragon head and Aegon inside a wooden box. Well, unfortunately, this broke the contract of the city that there could only be one public parade a month in order to not restrict transit, so the local residents were unhappy. Not in the normal boo, hiss sense, but more in the shouting out random lines of exposition. Yes. As they lug Aegon's smoking corpse up the stairs in his box, we found out Aegon is somehow still alive. And as celebration, like father, like son, huh? Or grandson? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Son. And as celebration, what follows is a highly uncomfortable several minutes of what I can only describe as an in-depth full medieval medical treatment for severe burn victims. Alicent, who never liked watching the procedural part of ER and hence not the target audience of this scene, decides 5 minutes of watching it while glowering in the corner is enough. And so she walks out to glower at Sir Kristen instead. Sir Kristen is way too busy seasoning his sword with lemon and salt as part of a nice ceviche to make much small talk with her, so instead responds almost monosyllabically with, "We won the war. Folks died. Some guy named Aegon was there, I think. Aemon, don't know who that is. Never met the guy." Well, it's not going much better in Dragonstone, though, as Rhaenyra is getting a tongue lashing from council member Alfred Broom, saying she lost their best dragon. They have no army. They have lost all control of the Westeros mainland, and they have no military strategy because she sucks as a general. Rhaenyra calls him disloyal, and Alfred is like, "I'm just reading the sitrep radioed in from the field line by line. You'd probably realize that if you weren't a woman." Rhaenyra responds, "Well, it takes one to know one. The only battle you've ever fought is with your gut." She then commands to restock the local houses with weapons and is immediately talked over by the council, saying they must respond aggressively, seek out Vhagar, and kill the High Tower's last remaining dragon while it's wounded. Rhaenyra is like, fine, I'll fly in alone and do it myself. To which the council face palms and asks her if she has brain damage because she did not see, did she not see what just happened 24 hours earlier? Jace leaves the meeting upset that his mom is an idiot and tells Baela that instead of meeting Daemon to get a status update as commanded him, he's going to see the Freys to allow the Starks to cross through. Wait a second. I think I recall a plan like this before. Well, I'm sure it went well and nothing of significance happened. No redness, no weddings, nothing. Oh, over to Daemon, who... Well, he's not doing anything. To the Vale, where they are displeased by the size of the dragons Rhaenyra gifted them. Rhaenyra tries telling them size doesn't matter, and they're growers, not showers. But the Vale's not buying it. Rhaenyra then whines to Mysaria for 3 minutes because nobody is taking her seriously, and her daddy never prepared her for the world, and that she knows nothing about the weapons of war. Boo-hoo! Mysaria asks, but have you tried running a shadow war? Rhaenyra is intrigued. Rhaenyra has a heart-to-heart with Baela, reminiscing about her grandmother Rhaenys, and then tells her to offer her box to her grieving and widowed grandfather Corlys for support. You got that, did you? And on that note, back to Daemon, who is having an extremely sumptuous and salacious sexual daydream about his mom? Telling him he's her favorite child while eating undercooked and bloody duck. Alice Rivers studies his behavior like a doctor studying a possibly insane lab subject from way over there. Daemon asks Simon Strong how goes the house reconstruction project. And much like my own house rebuild, it's a waking disaster, and there's no money left to fix it after the shady creditor with a foot fetish stole my life savings. Now, on to a random scene about that Smith they never formally introduced to us and his family struggling with the blockade. Well, now that that's over, to the Red Keep, where they are having a remarkably civil and extremely rational conversation about line of succession, and who should be named King Regent while Aegon is still alive and unable to rule. Alicent names herself, running on a platform of her experience queening while Viserys was alive, and Aemon being a no-good, very bad person. The Maester agrees with her. Everyone else, however, says Aemon, because, well, he's next in line. And it would make no sense putting a woman on the throne after their whole claim to the throne in the first place is saying Rhaenyra shouldn't have claim to the throne because she's a woman. The final vote goes to the Hand, who selects Aemon because that's how line of succession works. Aemon snatches Aegon's ball of ruling off the table. The only one he has left. His first order of rule is to get the Tullys to bend the knee, close off King's Landing, and shut the gates to keep the angry commoners inside, and to beautify the walls of the keep by removing the hanging ratcatchers in favor of some pretty bougainvilleas, all while Alicent was having a panic attack. Alicent whines to Sir Criston after the meeting about choosing Aemon to rule over her, and how he doesn't show favor to her, except when he performs the obligated sexual favors she commands him to do. Cole's like, Aemon was the next in line, Alicent. And, this war is awful. You really should have no role in it. Back, don't you dare speak my name again! And leaves. Meanwhile, the barring of the gates and barricading the residents of King's Landing Inn starts a completely foreseeable riot. Oh, I guess we're done with that now. Okay, we then jump to the twins. Offers up Harrenhal if the Freys bend the knee to Rhaenyra. Generally, it's not very wise to give away Mama's things without asking for permission first, so somebody might be getting a spanking for this later. Back to Harrenhal, where Daemon is chopping wood, and hearing the screams of the raped and murdered Bracken women and children he ordered so their men would join his army. Alice Rivers talks about the sad plight of women in society, and that Daemon is acting against Rhaenyra's wishes, then tells him she sees his sexual fantasies about his mom, who he never met. Yeesh. Daemon says People need a man to lead them. And once he is king, Rhaenyra is welcome to be his queen. Oh, what a riveting and oh so subtle commentary on gender inequality. And with that, Simon brings word to Daemon that the Brackens have bent the knee. Really? All right. To Driftmark, where a grieving Corlys is consoled by Baela and offered position of hand to Rhaenyra. Corlys just wants to be left alone and sail east, blaming Rhaenyra for his wife's death. But Baela affirms her pledge to Rhaenyra and memory of her grandmother as a dragon. The best kind of motivation there is. Straight from the heart. Oh. Back to Rhaenyra, who figures the best way to get rid of a disgruntled council member is to compliment him, then send him to tell her husband his hall pass is over, provide marital counseling, and get him back under her control. Oh, and speaking of Daemon, he was awoke from his slumber by the Brackens, who are furious that the Blackwells killed their women and children and burned their houses of worship, and will never bend the knee to him. He stood there confused while listening to the ghost of Laena as they walked out. Yep, so far this building an army plan is going very, very well. Enters some phenomenal scoring with a driving melody as Rhaenyra's servant sneaks into King's Landing. Corlys weighs and accepts his position as hand, and Aemon stares at the Iron Throne. Helena asks Aemon if it was worth the price, a question left unanswered, as Alicent showed her first motherly instincts all series, sitting by Aegon's bedside, caressing his wounds. As she leaves, Aegon gravely calls for Mommy. Unfortunately, Viserys' sarcophagus wasn't in the room to hear him. Yeah, that was a dad joke. Well, keep going. To Jace returning from the twins, and Rhaenyra saying she's proud of him, but angry because she should be putting her life on the line for her cause, not having her son do it for her, and she cannot protect him if Aemon desires to hunt him down, and that she needs more dragons. Of course. Episode ends with Jace saying there's a bunch of rogue dragons around. We just have to find riders, and pure-blood Targaryens aren't the only ones who can fly them. So can bastards. Scroll out to see enough shelves of records to make Sam Tarly squeal. This episode is brought to you by the Motherly Loverly app. Sesh and Maria, we've said this show is all about mothers. But did you know that most people do not get the amount of motherly love they desire?
Oh, I do not like where this is heading.
Sponsor?
Right. Please tell us more about this great product.
Absolutely, Maria. And glad you asked. Motherly Loverly is an app now available on Android and iOS that takes you on a self-guided journey to finding what type of emotional or physical motherly love you're in need of, and quickly sets you up with a local mother in your area for immediate day of support. So whether you need a mother to tell you they love you and you're their favorite, or you need a mother to stay at your bedside stroking your head after a sibling lights you on fire and throws you off a building, or even if you just need a mother stroking somewhere else like Daemon does, Motherly Loverly gives you what you truly desire. So download the Motherly Loverly app today, because nobody loves you like a mother. Download is free. Additional fees apply per service requested. Motherly Loverly is a legitimate business that offers consensual romantic relationships only for payment, and is not an escort service that offers legally different consensual romantic relationships for payment, and are not liable for any confusion resulting from misinterpretation. 18 and older, please use responsibly. Thank you, Sesh and Maria.
18 and older.
For Loverly, Motherly Loverly.
Motherly Loverly.
First time.
Oh.
We had legal look into that one before.
We did not.
Legal definitely signed off on them. I see them grinning in the background. I believe they are counting the money and saying, we did our disclaimer, we've done all that we need to.
Oh, no. Were there enough disclaimers? I don't know.
18 and older, I guess that's all you need.
That's all you need.
Our first question of the evening. Coming off of last episode, do you feel the difference in pacing and development jarring or appropriate? Sesh, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, this was so boring. I like the cinematography, but I don't think I've even not liked it. It's never been bad. Pacing felt like one of those like power walkers, like the old people who walk with a little faster than normal pace, like and they swing their butts from left to right, so their pace is all gyrating and stuff. This episode felt like that. Like it seemed fast paced, but it wasn't. It was just jiggling around like it had somewhere to be, but it went nowhere. The only plot point that immediately comes to mind is Corlys becoming Ray Ray's hand. Aemon being King Regent is not surprising at all. If anything, it's surprising Aegon is actually alive. Some tentative and shaky deals were made. The Blackwoods and Brackens are still fighting. It feels like such a waste of an episode. There was some editing choices I liked here. Like the long hold on Alicent, the Daemon and Rhaenyra fireplace lean in, facing different directions. But honestly, I hated that they cut away from Daemon's dragon burning those men and us not seeing how that actually played out so much that it leveled out any positive from the editing, I felt. Was that meant to be a comical cut too? That shot of his dragon's head lowering into frame was wonderful and such a great setup to another letdown of us not seeing what happens. Like, this whole episode was just the power walking segment of a race. Look up power walking. Like, look up a video. It's like the perfect physical representation of this episode, and it will make you giggle.
We'll add it to the Motherly Loverly commercial break.
Yes, and speaking of things that will never let you down.
Yeah.
What if they pay for that?
The unfolding of the scenes felt a bit more, I would call it relaxing. I wouldn't say more is the best word I can make. It almost made me feel like I was reading a book and just taking my time through the scenes and checking in on how the characters are doing and feeling. I definitely wasn't at the edge of my seat, but neither was I checked out. I still had curiosity left over from the previous episode that drove me to see what would happen. A ton of action, but the new groundwork they are laying didn't feel as boring as previous times where they laid groundwork. Overall, I feel the order in which they approached the scenes felt chaotic and a bit haphazard, and that really threw me off, which didn't help maintain my interest in that way. So,
well, hearing your response, I'm shocked because there was pacing in this episode. Wow. I mean, I just don't get this show sometimes. You know, they have a really good episode last week, a tight script, great pacing, a driving plot, culminating with a high-impact climax that delivered. Characters actually written a character, along with the stunning visuals this series regularly delivers. So what happens this week? Well, it's a return to the status quo of spending inordinate amounts of time on things that add nothing to the storyline, oddly sequenced scenes, along with the random featurette of a random character, again, who I guess we should care about, but we don't because they never introduced him despite them now showing him 3 times. and as well, it was an extraordinarily low stakes episode that seemingly adds little to what has already been established in the show, along with the return of repeated expository lines by different characters. It's a bad omen. Yeah, we got it. All right, you don't have to keep repeating it. If they cut out all the 2-minute featurettes showcasing the beautiful choreography that doesn't quite add to the script, there might have been 20 minutes of show this episode. As I said, I just don't get it. And I take more issue with the writer of this episode, but it's T. McKell. That's the same writer for last episode, and the script was great. So at this point, what's going on in the series? I mean, it almost has to be a showrunner issue because it's just bizarre choices. I mean, T. McKell didn't just forget how to write from last episode to this episode. I just don't understand what is going on in this show. Makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, my best guess is they're scared that they're not going to get enough groundwork laid for people to understand what's going to happen in the future. That's like the only reason why I think they spend so much time.
I do have that problem currently. Like, I kind of don't really know what's going on a lot of the time. I do retroactively.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, so our next question of the evening is, what is up with Damon? Okay, so he's trying to get people on his side by hinting to the Blackwoods to motivate the Brackens to join his side. If you were Willem Blackwood, how would you interpret this hint? I'll go first on this one. I would have taken Damon's hints to mean something entirely different. He really needs to work on his communication skills because they are the worst. I think he lives in a world where he assumes everyone is able to read his mind. I mean, when he said, we need to persuade them and did the winky face, I would have started calling, I don't know, local brothels, putting together feasts for the town folk in Rhaenyra's name, so they start feeling like they're going to be taken care of under her rule. Like, that's persuasion to me. I would maybe get a handle on what their religion is and, like, see how to kind of influence the religious leaders into believing Rhaenyra will support their faith and is the mystical chosen one, you know. In no way would I have thought persuasion meant stabbing their wives and kids. I mean, that feels a bit like the opposite of persuasion, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. Also,
you know there's that one guy who's like, woo, thank you. I'm free.
Also, why doesn't he ever oversee an important project? I don't think chopping wood is as important as a managerial job as checking in on the battle you just triggered. Like,
you make a great point there.
That's such a good point. It's such another character shift for him too.
Yeah, it's like when that politician goes and puts together one little rivet on like the line, like to show that he's a working.
I'm helping.
I got hurt. My hand got a boo-boo. I gotta go.
Which did happen to Damon.
I mean, Damon's just something special. I mean, he's just so naturally good at getting the worst possible outcome of a given political scenario. It gives failing upwards a new definition. I mean, he puts so much effort, into getting himself in the position to make important decisions, and then puts the absolute lowest amount of effort into that decision. I mean, sure, let's give carte blanche to one side and a few to do whatever they want to the other side with no oversight. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, the raping and murdering of their wives and children and making them your sworn enemy forever? Oopsie-doopsies. And that was supposed to convince them to join you? I mean, good Lord. If I was Willem, I'd know that, like us, the Brackens care first and foremost about their historical land rights and boundaries. So it's relatively simple. Make it appear that the crown, with Aegon's removal from power and Aemon's ascension, has decided to restructure their land and give some of it away to another house as a gift. Make it seem like they did the same to the Blackwoods, having everyone pissed off at first, blaming each other, but then having Daemon step in and saying, this is that foul Aemon's doing. And while he understands their feud and hatred to one another, if both sides pledge to Rhaenyra and join her army, she will ensure all historical boundaries are returned to the status quo and protect both sides.
Ooh, that's brilliant.
I like that. I do. So.
Or you just rape and murder their women and children. Same difference.
Slightly different plans there. Yeah, I think I might care less what's happening with this feud and this back and forth and constant bickering and fighting than Daemon does. Like, I don't feel like there's going to be any payoff here with these two clans. My initial thought was we actually could have my initial thought was we could have just been told about them and never needed to see anything unless they were going to show us that first battle, but the filmmakers didn't. So I'm getting more and more annoyed. Like, why are they here? Is there even a chance they will amount to anything being relevant to the plot? Like, I thought they were more interesting when they were, picking sides on their own and fighting on their own for who should be the ruler. But oh yeah, okay. So the question. So would I be persuasive? Could I motivate the Brackens? Well, once again, I assume I'm not a violent putz, but everyone Damon seems to talk to is either already has a vendetta or turns into a violent putz. Yeah, I don't know how it turned to pillaging from their conversation. It sounded like the Blackwoods were specifically saying they didn't want to fight since the Breckons were such good soldiers. Like, why have them all keep on fighting then? I would have asked Damon to just keep going around asking the different leaders to bend the knee, with the dragon right there. That would have saved a lot of time. Damon might be good at battles, might be, but oh, he sucks at talking.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of this guy. Our next question of the night is, at this point, is there any saving grace for Rhaenyra? Does any aspect of her character in this episode speak to her being capable as a leader and a queen? Sesh, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I wish. I hate how much this show feels like it's written by men trying to write a women's empowerment story, but it feels like they've never had a platonic woman in their life. I get the vibe the council would allow her to fly into battle if she were a man, and her being their leader is a convenient excuse, even though her not fighting is a smart move. So, something about the show touching on women's empowerment just doesn't track. They're just missing the mark. She does suck at battle plans and wartime, and that's allowed. Her Master of Whispers is proving herself to be clever. There you go. The whole series feels like the last scene in this episode. Rhaenyra is where she has been limited to be, the study, since they, don't let her fight and they don't respect her on the war council. So she's in the study. She is smart, though, and she knows they have a dragon issue. Even though they have more numbers, they don't have the weight class. She knows they need more riders for the unclaimed dragons. And her son, a man, maybe even a boy, has the actual brilliant idea of considering bastards and bloodlines with other houses. I love the idea. It's smart. And it did not have to come from him. My jaw dropped that their conversation turned into him literally having the smart idea instead of her being inspired to have a great idea by her smart son. It's frustrating that Rhaenyra, this character, is in these filmmakers' hands, because I actually do like her. And I think I have since her first husband. And I was worried they would let Damon walk all over her once they were a couple, but she has had a backbone with him and not put up with his crap. But this show is just, it's not the place for her to truly shine. And side note, I say I feel a lot in this podcast. I am not saying that to skirt around being firm in my statements or to soften my opinions. I say that because this is a show, a story, and it's supposed to make us audience members feel. And I think the show would not capture the difference in that nuance.
Wow. Wow, that was very good. Very well.
Rant over.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, this was the saddest episode for me to watch. Her stand there helplessly blaming her princess upbringing for not knowing what she is doing. Not only that, but her mind goes to, well, I should really know how to do hand-to-hand combat better. That's why I'm not considered a good queen. You just heard about your half-brother getting flame-broiled, trying to do the exact same thing you want to do. I mean, he's a man. He went into battle against everyone's wishes, and he is on death's door. maybe you should learn that being a ruler means planning strategy, not running into danger. When I saw her reading a book, okay, I was told that she was trying to learn war strategy instead of just wanting to learn more about how to fight better on a dragon. Like, I don't know. To be fair, I haven't seen anyone in the series actually show much passion for war strategy except for Aemond. And of course, Aemond has had the most wins of anyone. Go figure. Yet, he is lacking in empathy and shows bitter psychotic tendencies. So, no one's perfect, I guess. But everywhere else, nobody seems to be trying to strategize for her. She's trying to be open to ideas, which is nice, but I've lost all confidence in her as a leader, and it's so sad. She's supposed to be the main female strength. She's no Joan of Arc,
Yeah, I mean, why even have that episode in season 1, setting her up like, oh, wow, she can think politically. She's really good in this small council meeting if you're going to do this. Because, you make her look like completely incapable of holding any position whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, if she's complaining, oh, I'm a princess, I'll be honest, based off of how they did season 1, I did not see that with her whatsoever. She was being for the position. Mm-hmm. So if she doesn't know how to act in council meetings or to lead a group of people, I'm sorry, that's on her, you know? But that said, I actually am going to go in a slightly different direction. I actually think there might be a chance for her yet, but only because of her conversation with Jace late in the show where she admitted she has no idea what she's doing from a military perspective. If this results in her actually listening to her counsel and working out rational, effective battle plans, she'll have a shot. You don't need to be a technical expert in a given field to be a strong leader or manager. Mm-hmm. You just need to be able to effectively delegate and know whose knowledge should carry more weight in certain situations and issues. She can be a wartime general, but she can't do the first thing that pops into her head and order everyone to follow with no actual discussion, especially when they're terrible ideas. Up until the final 5 minutes of the episode, she was one of the most ineffective and incompetent leaders I had ever seen. I mean, worse than her father. No communication, no ability to make decisions, no military acumen, relying on questionable intel and untrustworthy people outside her council without listening to her own counsel, and awful impulsive actions with no thought put towards them. But if she can be honest with herself and recognize these issues and ask for appropriate help, she at least has a shot to become a capable leader and queen, even if the odds of that seem minuscule for the time being. But I'm with you. The writers are doing her completely dirty. And you brought up a great point, Sesh, in terms of why not let Jace say, oh, if only we had more dragons. Mm-hmm. And Rhaenyra responding, well, we do have dragons. And he's like, yeah, but, no, we don't have the Targaryens to ride them. And then she could say, actually, there's cases of non-purebred Targaryens doing it.
Just a tweak in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It's not difficult to do. Like, I
disempowering left and right.
Yeah.
Infuriating this episode.
Yeah.
Like, especially because I think, and we're not going to go into it this one, maybe we'll save that for next week. But the whole basis of this episode was clearly talking about women, gender inequality and women empowerment. That was the whole basis of this episode. And then they don't even follow what they're trying to do. And it comes off as so preachy. And
it feels like women are super incapable. So I'm hoping next week we look more capable and we can discuss.
Yeah, it's like women should be allowed to do all this stuff, but like really they're super incapable. Like it's like, wait, what are you showing us? You're telling us one thing, but you're showing us another.
Yeah.
Well, I'll attempt to ask this next question if it's possible for me. Number 4, who would you place on the Iron Throne and why? What do you think, Sesh?
Ooh, well, I mean, the queen who never was, but rest in peace, can't be her now. So for people who are currently alive, I'd pick her husband Corlys, actually. Then when he passes, his granddaughters can take over. They'll be old enough by then, even if we're now, honestly. They're Targaryen. They ride dragons. Skip that generational trauma with everyone that's fighting right now and start fresh. Daemon, and by marriage, Rhaenyra, can be the parents of the queen. Everyone respects him, and he can find some meaning in life after the passing of his love. And he's wise enough to not make that something, to be revenge. And even if he did, it would be simple, one man and only one person who would have to answer for that. He would be a better king than Viserys, I think. He wouldn't leave things so messy, and it would be just as peaceful, I think. And if it weren't as peaceful, he'd be good during wartime, too.
Yeah, well, solid choices, definitely. I went with Missaria. She seems to be the only one with understanding of both the people of the city and how the crown works, or doesn't. She also seems to have some sense of loyalty to people who treat her well, which is a plus. While she isn't a Targaryen or of any royal stature, I think she'd rule much better than any of the players we see here. I mean, the Sea Snake, like you said, isn't really interested. Like, he would be a good choice, but he's not interested right now. He likes his niche, Daemon's daughters also have potential, but they're too young currently. Aemon needs too much therapy to rule well in the long term. Alicent is run by her own issues and doesn't understand military strategy and hates her kids.
Yes, she should.
Sir Criston Cole has already been responsible for his king nearly dying from poor planning. He also doesn't seem to like a big picture thinker. Maybe Rhaenyra can serve as the figurehead while Missaria makes all the actual decisions and is the queen behind the queen. I don't know. All they have to do is tell the witch that has a spell on Daemon to keep him in a little fantasy island where he thinks he's ruling the kingdoms. Hallucinations call him king on a daily basis, and he's out of the way. That's it.
That sounds like a happy ending for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess king is the new daddy. Okay. So, you both named some people. But the truth is, absolutely nobody who has claimed to the throne has proven themselves to be even remotely capable of being fit to rule. Though, hilariously, if we were being objective, the best leader still alive with claim to the throne in this series has arguably been Aegon, of all people. I mean, Rhaenys is the logical choice, but with her being deceased now, I think your best bet is one of the more illegitimate heirs. So that would probably be Jace, in my opinion, as he has shown himself to be intelligent, politically diplomatic. I mean, he did handle the phrase sort of well. And, he's quite capable of leading and making his own decisions. Now, whether or not he would be deemed a bastard and unable to take the throne is a major issue. Helena, she might be next in line of succession if each of Aemon and Darren die. And if she were to rule, there would probably be peace. She also has future sight, so that helps. Her and Bran can write poems together for a time. Honestly, it's a mess right now. I mean, no clear line of succession, nobody with a legitimate claim, being an actual good leader, just bad options. I don't think that there is anybody even close to this who do a good job on the throne right now.
Yeah, there's no real passion behind any choices at this point. It's not like, oh, this guy would be amazing or she would be so, it's just kind of like, maybe.
Yeah, I agree, by the way, with Corlys. I mean, not only does he have no claim to the throne whatsoever, but it's true. He doesn't want to be a king.
Yeah.
He wants to go.
But his heirs do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if he was king, he'd be great.
Yeah, he'd probably be the best.
It's just not where his heart is,
Yeah.
No. Oh, no, he doesn't want to.
So our next question of the evening is, will more dragons actually solve their problems or create more? I'm going to start us off here. I feel like more untrained riders on untrained dragons. What could go wrong? I don't know. Everything. They could burn your kingdom and others to the ground. The riders may not be loyal to you at all after you hand them the seat of your power. And it's not like she can take the dragons back once they've bonded. This is a sad idea that stems from not knowing how to use any other strengths you may have to your advantage. I think back to Jonathan's military strategy discussion last episode that was jam-packed with ways Rhaenyra could have won this war, and that she is going to put her stock in this, to me, is sad when she's still avoiding even considering hiring a strategist. I mean, okay, she has offered the job of hand to Corlys, but she hasn't even asked him for any advice yet.
Great points.
Yeah.
Not just because you referenced me. Great points. Considering Rhaenyra has no idea how to raise an army, lead an army, or use her dragons effectively, I'm also going with more problems. At this point, it's basically adding more roaming fire hazards to the battlefield that she'll send in one-on-one to their doom while destroying random castles. If she were to figure out how to use her dragons to surround Vhagar 5 or 6-on-1, I'd go with less, because this war would be over once they kill Aemon, then call for the High Towers to surrender or burn both them and their ancestral home of Old Town. But that's not the case. So, much, much worse. More dragons, more problems.
More money, more problems.
That's right.
Probably, yeah. So, I think you just need one real big dragon to get everything. So it looks like you just need like one big dragon to get everything your little heart ever wished for, right? That's what we got with Aemon flying around. I figured out the strategy though. Rhaenyra only needs one dragon, a sexy one that Vhagar finds sexy. Give that big boy a good home and a cuddle buddy, you're set. The only other possibility is to actually try to implement a strategy with the number advantage of dragons that they have. I'm hoping we get to see that with these potential future dragon riders the show has hinted at, because there are a lot of possibilities of surprise attacks from below if there's a lot of dragons. Maybe we'll see a new strategy, though.
You never know.
Yeah, I'll definitely say dragon on dragon sex would be more appealing than what we saw this episode.
Yes.
Closest we'll get to female empowerment. Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
Vhagar is a boy, though, right? Or is he not?
Vhagar's a girl. Female
Heck
dragon.
yeah. All right, one sexy guy dragon. That's all Rhaenyra needs.
All right, our next question, it's got to be asked. What in the mother love was the purpose of the Daemon mom scene? Yikes. Sesh, you can start us off again.
Yeah, I question, is it worse and more gratuitous than Littlefinger explaining his manipulation tactics while two of his prostitutes learn to manipulate each other? The House of the Dragon may have actually topped the original series in one way. It may have topped one of the most awkward, worst scenes in the original series, possibly directed by a horny teenager. The fun fact I have to add to this scene was only worse retroactively because I had no idea who she was. I thought I missed something. Were we supposed to know during the scene? He didn't seem surprised by it. The surprise ending to us just made it feel like that was weird, yuck, instead of holy hell, what am I watching, yuck, this is demented. It was just so super random and forced. The previous dreams he had were symbolic, they were haunting, they brought to light underlying guilt. Was this in the book? Is Daemon more consistent and flushed out where the scene would have been impactful in some way? I can't believe that was the case for the book, but this scene did not land. It's been obvious Alice is messing with him And if this dream wasn't enough to make him get out of there, then I'm actually frustrated that that we've already seen the best this creepy castle has to offer. And that's already long in the past of the previous episode.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he is so in love with himself, it's obnoxious. I was very thrown off by this scene because why? He wanted to be born first, okay? I don't think that is how you make that happen. I mean, he wanted to be close to his mom? Maybe in a weird way. Nope. It made him feel like a king? I don't want to ruminate on this too long. It definitely felt unnecessary, but also when the witch hints that she knows what he was dreaming about, like you said, how does he not get super upset or kick her out? He's clearly under her power and really could be killed at any time while he's having disturbing fantasies. I don't know.
The scene was just so random and so completely nonsensical, having absolutely nothing to do with any other plot point or storyline. At this point, the only thing I can guess is that Ryan Condal and George R.R. Martin were Beavis and Buttheading on the couch saying, hey, Beavis, Damon totally wants to nail his mom.
Your mom.
Yeah, they should put that on TV. Then they told T. McKell to write the scene, and he's like, hey, a paycheck's a paycheck, and helps me deliver on that HBO nudity quota. I mean, that's my best explanation.
It's resolved.
Yeah. Mother loving.
The
horny teenage writers are back.
So let's move on to how we rate the show, and would you continue watching in light of what we've done? I'll let you get started.
Well, all I have to say is, what a refreshing return to normalcy with this show. I mean, just another episode that misses the mark when it comes to storyline, continuity, pacing, writing, plot, stakes, regurgitated exposition, and inconsistent characters that even incredibly strong choreography and musical scoring can't save. And it has. I mean, the choreography and musical scoring has been amazing this episode. Plus, the graphic, disturbing, and senseless burn treatment and mother diddling scenes, and that's before even mentioning the extremely pushed gender inequality focus of this episode that had the subtlety of a machine gun that came across as both inauthentic and pandering with regards to preachiness. But again, hey, that's scoring and composition, 10 out of 10 in my opinion, so that part was phenomenal. Other than that, I liked the Corliss Bayless scene. I thought that was nice, and that's and well acted, and honestly that's really just about it. This episode, in my opinion, could have been cut down by 40 minutes and absolutely nothing would have been lost to the story. So that's a 3 out of 10 for me, or an F plus D minus episode, and par for the course, really. It's just, as Sesh said earlier, I completely agree. It's just, what a massive disappointment this series is. It just misses the mark on so many levels, episode after episode. I thought maybe there might be hope after this last one. No. Just go right back to it.
I mean, I felt like this episode was a little better than some of the other episodes that had trouble with pacing, continuity, and character development. But it wasn't perfect. I would give this episode a 4.5 for at least showing the world of the citizens in an interesting way and not over depending on exposition like it has done in the past.
You're still riding on last week, huh?
A little bit. Okay, so the positive first. I haven't yet mentioned the music, but I really enjoyed it. This was the first episode I think I even noticed the music, like outside of the opening, of course. And it was good. It didn't have a whole lot to work with, but the music was clear and amplifying the emotions of the scenes, and I got into them with it. Then I looked at the scene and realized what was happening, and it was always lame or boring compared to the great score. I was getting amped up in the final scene with the scrolls of the family trees, and the song was almost good enough to make me anticipate what's to come next episode. I love the dragon head carted through King's Landing. The crowd's sad reaction of seeing such a magnificent creature dead like that, even though it's a traitor. The common peasant had awe and respect for the dragons. Even though they didn't know the state of the king or his dragon, you can tell they, see this battle's victory as too great a cost. But otherwise, I feel like I am finally broken out of my cycle on rating the show on its own scale. My retroactively minusing 2 points overall. And this episode following that last week's has helped me finally find my true base level to score by. So for this episode, Regent, extra points for music. Editing evened itself out to be a tie of good and bad. There's always some good scenes sprinkled in, like Corliss stuff. But a lot of redundant stuff in this episode. Like, how many times do we need to see the councils not respecting our leading ladies? I'm glad they're setting up things to create tension in the future episodes, but I don't have any hope for payoff. Like, this was such a boring episode. Even with a gratuitous, gross mom-son scene, it was just like a 3, maybe a 4.
Yeah.
Sounds like it didn't live up to last week's episode. It's truly shocking. But
such a surprise.
Yeah, having sat here this whole time and listened to the opinions, I can come to that conclusion. Oh man. Well, 5 more to go this season, right? There's 10 episodes. Oh man.
Oh gosh, that feels like so many.
Crawling by.
Yeah. It's just such a shame. We have been honored to go ahead and talk about highlights for some truly phenomenal shows, and this one needed to be workshopped just a bit more. Just a bit more.
I feel like I want somebody to just do like a re-edit of everything where they only take away the good parts and they leave out so much and see what we get, like a 5-episode miniseries. That's it.
I sort of want a documentary on like what happened behind the scenes. Like for this.
I mean, I've heard some things, like the dragon eggs. Director says, yeah, those are supposed to be Danny's eggs. Showrunner says, no, definitely not. So it's not cohesive. It's so clearly not cohesive.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that could make a good conversation, but for that to happen, this would have to bomb so badly as a show that, they just decide to cancel all future projects. But we've already seen, actually, the show has been successful. Like, I have heard and seen the comments from people. People are turning on the show, finally. You see, like, the massive ratings drops of the episodes now, where they start out, in the 9s, and all of a sudden they're in like the 7s and 6s. So
the freshness is gone.
Yeah, it is, and that's the thing when it comes to television. People can go ahead and think highly of things or reminisce about things, but that only holds you for so long until it turns into what have you done for me lately? And this show, it's been bottom of the barrel Game of Thrones, in my opinion, for the most part.
Well,
definitely.
I think oddly the draw last season was that Daemon was a heartthrob.
Yeah,
and they haven't.
I love him, but not as the Daemon character.
Yeah, they haven't really wrote him or capitalized on him being that this season, so that probably doesn't help either.
There's a lot of things they haven't capitalized on, I feel like.
Yeah, they need hot Dario Naharis to make an appearance, save this show.
The hottest character in the whole thing is like the worst character in the whole thing. It's Kristen Cole. Like, I hate him so much. He's got great looks, but I am so ready for him to just not be in the show. It's not worth it.
That's good. And
Allison too. Like, she's gorgeous. It's just terrible. She's so terrible.
That's right, viewers out there and listeners. Don't go for the bad guy or bad girl.
Yeah.
Go for the good one. All right. On that note, thank you so much for joining us this evening and watching until the very end. We do really appreciate all your support, and hopefully we brought you some intelligent conversation and laughs tonight. I know I laughed a little. Motherly, loverly. Best ever. Download it today. And
hopefully we've been part of the surge in the rating change.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're definitely listening to us voting down. I'm sure that.
Hey, those some good points.
But overall, yes, honestly, it's your guys' support that makes this worth it. So if you like this show, please like, share, subscribe, heart, do what you need to do, promote it. We appreciate it. And if you hated this show, please make sure to like it twice, as not only will that really show us, that'll show the directors of House of the Dragon themselves that something needs to change. So, our next episode, and I think we have decided to finish out this season unless there's another really awful episode like number 3, in which case, I don't know. But our next episode will be on Tuesday, July 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So looking forward to seeing you guys then. And until next time, could you do it better? Bum, 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 bum. All right. Bye, everybody.